tool that I still come back to, and I find it can be Marmite, but I like, is the Wheel of Life. So the Wheel of Life is a really renowned coaching tool. And what happens with that is you draw a wheel, you segment it into 8 areas of your life that are most important to you right now. So usually it's relationships, career, money, health, family, social life. And then in terms of those, you start to think about, well, what would the best version of me, what would that look like? You know, if it was relationships, what would they look like? If it was career, what would that look like? Family, health, spirituality, religion, whatever it is. And you're starting to think about, okay, what would success really look like in that area and feel like? And the great thing about that is what you're doing is you're then value tagging to your brain, this is what I want. It activates the reticular activating system, which can help you to actually achieve those things. You do need to do the work as well. But, you know, so you're already saying, this is what I want. And then you look at, well, where am I now? And you basically draw a wheel, and nobody's wheel is ever perfect. Nobody's wheel could ever drive a car, but it's a really clear visual way of going, okay, maybe I need to focus on this. So it's great for clients who are coming in, have got lots going on, don't know where to focus. It's also a great thing that you can do that can help people visually see progress. From there are lots of coaching questions you can ask. You can help people to really dial down and focus, because our brain is monotask, not multitask. And when we're able to focus, we can really get some clear actions and move forward in a particular area. Often when people come to coaching, there's so many things and it can feel really overwhelming. So that's one tool that I think is great for people new to coaching, is great for people who are overwhelmed, is great for people who are maybe stuck on where to start. And it's a really easy visual tool. I find that visual tools work well for me. I'm neurodivergent, and often for my clients who have a tendency, but not all, to be neurodivergent. And that can be as simple as drawing something together. I also like Lego and plasticine and creativity. When you get somebody, as long as they're willing to be more creative, to actually draw rather than speak, or to look at images, it can help lower the levels of cortisol in their brain and lower levels of adrenaline and noradrenaline, which can actually be more beneficial for their thinking in their brain, giving more energy to their prefrontal cortex, and that can help decision making. So often I might not be going into a session thinking I might do this, but I was like, okay, are you open to? The other thing that I do often, which is kind of like a tool, is about a somatic reset. So somatic coaching, somatics really means of the body. And when I'm thinking about a reset, it might be as simple as a pause, like that, or maybe taking a breath or doing a few breaths. Again, what can happen there is it can help calm the nervous system, engage the client, and help them to get out of a sympathetic response, get out of fight, flight, or freeze, and actually use more of their cognitive capacity. I really like those. Again, it's dependent on our clients as well. And then the tool that I use the most is something that is based on the concept of flow. So flow is a psychological concept which talks about this idea that we can be really engaged in things. We can feel at one with them. To be honest, I love speaking about these things. I feel in flow when I'm doing that. I feel in flow when I'm playing with my children. I feel in flow when I'm walking in the forest. I feel in flow when I'm with my friends having a glass of wine in a bar, talking. You know, all of those things, I feel completely at one. I'm not hearing that inner dialogue. I'm not conscious of me within that. I'm conscious of really being at one with the music, really being at one and present with what I'm doing. And we know that that presence and engagement is really good for our brains, really good for our well-being. It's kind of the diametric opposite of what we're often like when we've got all of these notifications and everything else going on. So it's like the antidote to smartphones, I think. So if we're thinking about that concept, it was actually taken further by Gay Hendricks in his book, The Big Leap. And he talked about it in a work context, this idea that we've got these different zones we can be in. So zone of incompetence, we're not very good at it, don't enjoy it. Zone of competence, we're okay. Zone of excellence, we're good at it, traditionally where we think about strengths. Zone of genius, we're good and we enjoy it. And his theory is that the more time we spend in our zone of genius, or ZOG, the higher our levels of well-being, the higher our levels of performance. And it makes sense. And there is psychological research to back this up as well, that actually when we do what we enjoy and what we're good at, we feel better, we perform better. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Sometimes in positive psychology and psychology, you're like, yeah, that makes complete sense. When I'm doing stuff that I don't like and I'm not good at, I'm not as happy. Who would have thought it? So what I do with my clients is I get them to audit their time. I get them to think about, what am I doing that I don't enjoy and I'm not good at? What am I doing that I don't mind? What am I doing that I love? And then we look at those and we think, well, what can we change? So it might not be that if you're working in a job, it might not be that you can suddenly stop doing the things that you don't like doing, because maybe you might get the sack. But actually, maybe you can think about, well, how can I increase the amount of time I spend in my zone of genius? Maybe I could speak to my manager and I could think about how I could actually change my role or volunteer. What about the things that I really don't like doing? Who could help me with them? Again, could this be a conversation? If I've got my own business, that's a delegation opportunity. What I find is that most people don't spend too much time in what they don't like doing. They spend loads of their time in what they don't mind doing. So again, it's a small difference, and actually having that and redoing that audit can get people to really think about, well, where can they make changes and how do they feel? So that is my favorite tool. But I would say the best tools in coaching are these and this. And again, one of my friends, who's a master certified coach, she's amazing. She always says, we're given 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And I would go beyond that. It's not just our ears, it's all of our senses, all of our neural pathways that are there, present with our client, picking up on what is and isn't being said, looking at that congruence to help them to get new insight and build new neural pathways. If you are still really keen on tools, then drop me a message, because I have got my favorite tools in a toolkit that you can have. But I would also say, just consider when you're using tools, is that about you and your confidence, or is it what serves the client?